Welcome to O'Talkin' with Dave, coming to you from his palatial fortress in Sin City, where what happens in Vegas is talked about everywhere. Put your hands together for the pastor of positivity whose glass is always at least half full. Here's Dave.
Hey, how we doing out there? I hope you're great. I'm top shelf, ready to go. I'm here by myself, but I'm not lonely. That's what we're going to talk about today. The difference and different aspects of loneliness versus solitude. And when you can understand, differentiate, and embrace certain things about those two situations, then you'll be better off. Thanks to the people who've requested this. Some are really struggling, and it hurts me. It bothers me. When somebody is lonely, I'd like to reach out to them. I want to give them a hug. However, loneliness is part of life, I guess, at times. I have been lonely at times. I've been lonely in a crowd full of people. But it's fortunate for me, it's never been a state of loneliness that lasted very long. A lot of times the loneliness came from something that I was accustomed to that I didn't have access to at that time. However, solitude's quite another thing. Yeah, there are profound differences between being alone and being lonely. Loneliness is an emptiness that gnaws at you. It's horrible. Something's just gnaws the word. It just gnaws at you. While solitude, it's a fullness that when you're in a state of solitude, you're being restored. It's a refreshing situation. Psychologists say that 36% of adults say they have serious loneliness issues. This is in 2020. This is right at the beginning of COVID. I would be curious to see what it is now. But 36% of adults said they have a serious problem with loneliness. That hurts my heart. That includes over 60% of young adults. So it's 36% for all adults, but 60% of young adults say they got a problem, a serious problem with loneliness. And then in the same breath, you got these learned people, some of the great thinkers. I don't know that Thoreau is a great thinker. He's an author. Some people give him a lot of credit. I've seen a lot of stuff he says. It's pretty cool. But he says, I've never found the companion that was so companionable. I think he could come up with a better word, though. He's never found a companion that is so companionable as solitude. So which is it? Which is it? Is it a curse? Is it a gift? The truth is, it can be either. It can be either. So I mentioned earlier, I can be in a crowd and be lonely. Yeah, you can have a packed schedule. You can have 1,000 people following you. You can have a house full of craziness and noise. I can be on stage either playing or talking to a room full of people and feel alone. Feel alone. Robin Williams said, I used to think the worst thing in life was to end up alone. It's not. The worst thing is to end up with people who make you feel alone. Loneliness, it's not about presence. It's about connection. I think that's very important. I can be by myself in a hotel room in BFE, and I've got so many connections that I don't feel alone. I don't feel alone. Then I can be in one of the scenarios we said earlier, a place where I don't really know anybody. I have had really good experiences with a ton of people I don't know. And I was not able to talk to someone to share that with them for a little bit. I eventually did. But part of and that's the connection that we're talking about. I've experienced this fantastic situation and I just want to share it with this person I love and I can't. That makes me feel alone. So think about times in your life. Maybe you're going through one now. I hope not. Times in your life when you have felt utterly alone. I hope it didn't last long. How'd you get through it? What changed it? What caused it? All of these things help us realize and assert ourselves in the areas that keep that from happening again. Because I don't think, I haven't thought this one through, and I guess, David, why are you doing an O-Talk on something if you hadn't thought it through? I don't know a scenario where feeling lonely is productive. I think maybe sometimes it's necessary to realize it, but as far as good being in a lonely situation, I can't get there. I can't get there. So let's talk about some examples of loneliness and how to spot it. Because you may not be lonely, but someone around you may be. And you can help with that. That connection is what matters. So maybe you've got somebody that's a social butterfly. They're always laughing in a crowd, but when the door shuts, they're not. Maybe they're crying. Maybe they have to be on. Maybe they put on a good act for everybody else when inside they're dying. They're giving, but they're not getting what they need. That's an example of loneliness that may not look that way on the surface. Or at work, you got these workaholics. Their calendar is so full. Call after call, meeting after meeting, presentations, negotiations. They're always buzzing with activity. A lot of times they're doing that because that keeps them from having to face the silence. If I stay busy, then I won't be lonely. That is not true. That is not true. Also, you've got that whole celebrity syndrome. You're surrounded by admirers or people, yes men, or people clapping for you or patting you on your back. Nobody knows you. Nobody knows them. It's everybody's playing a part, but they don't know who you are. It's the connection that keeps you from being lonely. And then you've got, and I've seen this in my recent past, especially the last 7 years, you've got the caregiver who gives everything to everybody else. They're always giving, but they're not taking care of themselves. And because they're always giving, a lot of times they put on the air of, intentionally, maybe not, I just take care of other people. I'm fine. But they forget about themselves. They forget about themselves, and a lot of times they deteriorate. You got to take time for yourself. It's not just giving. The thing is, I've heard it my whole life, it's more blessed to give than receive. However, receiving is allowing somebody else to give. There's that connection again. And then you got isolation even in marriage. You share a house, but something happened. Something happened. You're just going through the motions. You got a roommate now, or maybe even not even that. So many marriages turn into that because you lose, again, that connection. So, in yourself and in others, some signs to watch would be any kind of withdrawal, or if a forced cheerfulness, trying too hard. You can tell something's a little off in me or in somebody else. Maybe it's some forced cheerfulness then. Overdependence on distraction. You don't even want to do it, but you're going to do it because it's something to do and it keeps you away from being lonely or facing the silence. Maybe it's all of a sudden it's a lack of energy. You don't feel like it anymore. It's not worth the effort. Okay, that can be a sign as well. Or just some people will just give you a subtle admission of emptiness. And again, it could be something as just, you want to do this? No, I'm just going to hang out at home tonight. I'm just going to I need some alone time or me time. Or maybe it's worse than that. They want to do something after an event. And maybe you don't. You got something to do. And they'll do that subtle hint, okay, I guess I'll just go home to an empty house. See, that is a subtle admission. And these are signs. And being lonely in itself is it's not nothing to cause radical fear or ring the emergency bell. But remaining lonely, that's dangerous. And it's physically and mentally dangerous. Increased risk of heart disease and stroke are because loneliness will do that. You're putting yourself in knots. Chronic loneliness, it has been compared to your heart and cause of a stroke. It has been compared to smoking 15 cigarettes a day. How many cigarettes are in a pack? 10, 20? I don't know. 15 cigarettes is a lot. And if you're chronically lonely or lonely for a period of time, it's just like being a smoker. If you're lonely and smoking, I don't know stats around that. But physically, it pays a physical toll. And of course, high rates of depression and anxiety, which plays a physical toll as well. It will even weaken your immune system. Lonely people are sick more often. They just can't fight it. Their system is so weak. And then they have a lower sense of self-worth, and their identity starts to crumble a little bit because they don't have that validation, because they don't have that connection. So it is. Maybe I'm not this. Maybe I'm not that. Maybe I'm not who I thought I was. And then it gets to the point where, yeah, I know who I am. I'm just lonely. And then the risk of self-destructive coping mechanisms, whether it's addictions or reckless spending or getting that addictive type of personality, or toxic relationships. I'll be with a toxic person just so I'm not lonely. Oh, we're going to get better here, I promise. I know this is a rough topic so far, but it's so real. Remember the stats. 60% of young people feel lonely. You can stuff your day with social media, and you can get likes, and you can get all the digital pats on the back that one can muster. That doesn't really fight loneliness. They have talked about, I've seen some of the stats, and I don't trust them necessarily. People are having relationships with AI. They're having relationships with ChatGPT just so they can have a conversation. It's rough, man. That's rough. So let's talk about the other side. Not lonely. It's not loneliness. What about the beauty of solitude? Solitude, it's not the absence of people. It's really understanding yourself and having all of the opposites that we just talked about. High self-worth. It's liking yourself. It's liking who you are and where you're going. You know, it's if I was my friend, I would really cherish my friendship. Thomas Merton said, solitude is not something that you must hope for in the future. It is a deepening of the present. So there's a lot of things around this. I love being alone. I do. 2 places that I'm most comfortable. We'll say 3. If I'm in a group of close friends and we're just hanging out and laughing and doing nothing really, but the conversation, battling off each other, maybe giving somebody the business, or watching TV and some of the funny comments somebody makes and somebody builds on that. I love that. On stage, I can be lonely on stage sometimes, but I am very comfortable on stage with a band or just talking or interacting. And then when I'm by myself, I love it. The loneliness will drain you, but that solitude, like I said before, it restores you. There's so many things about solitude that, my goodness, it's motivating. It's I get refreshed. It's just a time when you can think back, when you can reflect on things, on your past, good times, lessons you may have learned. It's a time when you can really understand all that you have to be grateful for. That's solitude. And then it can give you the resolve to, okay, what's next? It can be done without solitude, but solitude, it supports all of that and makes it much richer. Like I go to Central California a lot, and you go through there, and that's where most of our food is grown. But you'll go back when they've tilled the soil, and it's just black and rich. No wonder stuff grows so well that way. But I remember my granddad would tell me, how you can tell good soil. That's what solitude does for me. It makes my being, I sound like some sort of guru here. It's ridiculous. I don't talk like this. But it makes me feel more rich with nutrients or a reason or support, all that connection. I don't have to be with that person to feel connected to them. I can see something and I think about that person and every good thing and all my love for them. In solitude, it's restored and the connection is there and they have no idea that I'm doing it. That's solitude. That's solitude. When you're truly alone with yourself, you're free from performance. You don't have to put on an act or act a certain way, laugh at a joke that's not funny just so they feel good about themselves. So you're free from that performance. You're free from an expectation. There's no pressure on you to be a certain way. And you're free from that constant noise about what everybody else thinks you should be. Now, some people don't really have that much to begin with, but some people are playing a role, and it's something they've done for a long time. And so to really have solitude is to be away from that. And you can have solitude and be in a group of people. I think we said that earlier. But it's a freedom. Solitude is another type of freedom, and you know how I feel about freedom. It's one of the most important things we can have. So in solitude, you don't have to measure up or show up or keep up. You can just be. And that's wonderful. That's fantastic. Where loneliness is like you're in a cage. You're trapped. You're trapped with that longing that's gnawing at you. And also, you're locked away from the connection. Solitude is more like an open field that you can walk in any direction at your own pace with no one pulling on your leash. It's freedom. And it's glorious. So that's very important. Everyone needs a source or a connection to solitude. Freedom in solitude, it means you finally get to choose your pace. No rush, no deadlines. Nope. Freedom in solitude. You get to own your voice. No chorus of opinions. You can sing harmony if you want, but I think when it's in solitude, you are the lead singer. It's fantastic. And then the rest for your soul with solitude, there's no need to explain anything. You don't have to justify anything. You don't have to defend anything. See how it's freedom? All that stuff is heavy. I talked about it's like bricks in a backpack. No, your soul is set. No requirements. And then you can explore things more deeply. When I talked about, okay, what's next? Okay, what are your ideas? Sometimes you can schedule solitude. Okay, here's what I'm going to do. I've been wanting to think about this. I've thought at a high level. I do this a lot with these talks, but I really want to dig into that. Because sometimes I feel this way, sometimes I feel that way about this topic. I want to dig in and really understand how I feel about this. What are my ideas? What can I make into something concrete? Not necessarily absolute, but hey, here's how I feel about it. Or here's what I want to do. I've talked about it. I talked to several people about it that I trust, and mostly older people, just so I can bounce stuff off of them. Okay. 67, 7 years from now, what do I want to have done by then? What do I want to do by 70? 70. That's a big one. I'm thinking I want to live on an island in St. somewhere. Get rid of all my stuff, buy me a little spot, and just hang out. What's the good, the bad, and the ugly about that? My daughter's all in on that. She's ready because she's going to visit St. somewhere. But you can explore these things when you have solitude. And then even your beliefs. What do I believe in? What's important to me? Maybe this changes over time. I'm not talking about just religious faith, but faith in general, which I previously covered. What do I believe in? What do I need to prepare for? What's my biggest weakness? What are my top 5 weaknesses? You can dig into that without any expectation. Whatever it is. You can have your solitude to-do list. Yeah. And the thing is, once you spend some time in solitude, you come back stronger because freedom recharges. It recharges you so you can re-engage with others. And now it's more on your terms. And that doesn't mean you only do what you want and you're selfish. No. I'm going to be with that person. I know they love this, so I'm going to re-engage stronger. And hey, I'm going to give. I'm going to give a little. Yeah. The more faithfully you listen to the voice within you, the better you'll hear what is sounding outside. That's fantastic. I didn't come up with that. That's a quote, and I would tell you who said it, but I can't pronounce their name. But that's good. That's solid. That's what solitude gives you. You're listening to yourself. You're talking to yourself. And the more you do that, you come back, okay, now I know what all this other stuff sounds like to me. I like it. I don't like it. Can I do something about it? Do I want to do something about it? Or do I just want to not participate? Solitude gives you the freedom to make those decisions. Yeah. So what does it really feel and look like? A quiet morning coffee with no phone in my hand, sitting outside by the pool. That's fantastic. You know, a lot of people are sitting on the beach, just listening to the waves. Yeah. Maybe a long walk with no conversation, with no music, no nothing. I was doing that the other day, and it doesn't rain here much, and I saw the clouds. You can see them forever in the desert. But I could see a storm coming, and it was far away. And so I just kept walking, and then I heard just a low rumble, boom. And it seemed like it rumbled for 30 seconds. I'm sure it didn't. But that was like, it reminded me of when I was in the South growing up, and in the summer, we'd have thunderstorms. We were used to it. And I got to thinking, when I was little, I was scared of storms. I didn't like the loud noises. And then I thought, okay, how many years has it been? Now, I'm walking, I'm in solitude, and that's comforting. The thing I used to be afraid of now is almost like a blanket wrapped around me. Love it. That's solitude. A good book. A lot of people read. But solitude would be reading to learn something. Or maybe it's a warm story. Or maybe you've connected with the characters. And when you read this book, time just melts away. And you don't think about anything else because you're wrapped up in this story or this topic, this subject. Solitude. There was a place when we would go to, when we lived in Orange County. Dove Canyon is the name of the community, but it's the Mission Viejo area. But there was a lake, and it was right by a mountain. And the mountain would reflect in the lake. And when you sat on a certain bench across the lake, you could look at the lake, and there's the mountain, and then the mountain was in the lake. And then every now and then, during the winter, there would be snow on top of the mountain. And that would just enhance it even more. Sitting by that, I would stop by the donut shop. I get a couple of donuts, give me a cup of coffee, and just sit there. No phone, no nothing, and just take it in. That was solitude. Solitude. Also, another way is Whether you journal or whatever you do, I've started making little lists. Of course, on my social media, you see my list. Every day I do 10 things, crazy stuff. And people seem to enjoy it. But I like to make a list, maybe 5 things of just write down the thoughts. What am I thinking about? What's important to me today? What am I grateful for today? Not even for anything more, but to acknowledge it. I'm not going to show anybody. It's not something to be proud of or upset about. It's just my thoughts right now. This is where I am. If you do that, I'll tell you one thing about journaling. I don't do it. At different times I have, but I keep everything. Over to my left, there are 24 books of where I just notes, a schedule, a meeting, whatever. I just keep them. And I can go back, and that's like a time capsule. I can go back and say, ooh, I remember that meeting. Ooh, it got rough. That's why there's blood on this page. Just kidding. But just writing down your thoughts like that, you can look and over time what you're going through. That's why some of the tools that we use in my processes, you go back and look about what was really causing you trouble at this time. What did I do? Here's how I overcame it. All right, that's a good lesson for the future. But sometimes it's just writing it down, reading it, and throwing it away. Writing it down helps. Because solitude, it feels like oxygen, which is the opposite of loneliness. Loneliness feels like somebody's choking you. So when the world gets to the point to where, oh, I can't take it anymore, it may not even be loneliness, but it is an indicator that you need some solitude. There's shifting from loneliness to solitude. That shift happens when emptiness turns into the presence of something. Loneliness, I'm missing something. I'm missing someone. Okay, is it that person or is it that connection that you had to that person? Sometimes when you're lonely, you have to reach a degree of solitude to understand what's making you lonely, more than just the emotion or a feeling that you're going through. Loneliness says, I'm missing someone. And really, solitude is saying, hey, who are you? Maybe you're missing yourself. I don't know. I just know that one is horrible when it's extended and it's bad for you. And the other one is glorious and you come back being stronger. I agree. So how do we get there? How do we get to this wonderful solitude you talk about, Dave? I'm glad you asked. I'll tell you. There's just a few ways. I think, like in many cases, you have to start small. You have to start small. And the best way to start is, let's just say 10 minutes alone with no phone. No phone, no conversation. See what 10 minutes feels like. It may feel like an hour. Or it may be no problem. So, oh, that's really nice. I remember I go to a lot of areas where there's not always great phone reception. It's fantastic. It's fantastic. They did a study with teenagers, and it was 2 weeks, and they took away their devices. First day, they almost died. Second day, they almost died. But by the third or fourth day, okay, you can do something. We can have conversations. I can actually watch a TV show and without getting away from it. I can enjoy what's happening right now. And then by the end of 2 weeks, it didn't have that hold on them than it did. So start small, 10 minutes, no screens, just you, just quiet. And then I'm telling you, another good way is nature. Put yourself outside. And if you live in the middle of downtown somewhere, it's a little tougher. But get to somewhere where you can get away from noise. We don't realize how much noise affects us. We really don't until we're in a truly silent atmosphere. I go for walks. I love to walk. I've really developed a need to walk. I do some of my best thinking on walks. I like to drive. I like to drive with no music on from time to time. And so it lets me think. I am in a truck, but I'm in nature, usually driving through the desert. So that's important. Inject some nature into it. Yeah, I know people who go to golf courses and have permission just to walk the course. Just to walk the course, because you're in nature and it's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. Then I think also it's good to have a spot, like a sacred place to enhance solitude. It could be a chair. It could be a room. I guess it could even be a car. But it needs to be something that you can go to. That's your sweet spot. I have a couple outside by the pool. I love it. And I consider that nature because I've got all the greenery. I've got the water. It's very peaceful. It's where I go for solitude. However, I think that you need to be able to find solitude almost anywhere. But sometimes you need that spot. This is where I go. This is my happy place. This is what I do. It's important to have certain rituals for solitude. Maybe you pray, maybe you journal, maybe you meditate, maybe you do yoga, maybe it's breathing exercises. There's so many ways, but find what works for you. Maybe a couple of things that work for you. Because solitude is not working out aggression. Some people have contact sports or go to a show and get in a mosh pit. That's not solitude. You may need that. But whatever mindful type rituals you need so that you can listen. You go out into nature and sit on a rock and be quiet. Something's going to speak to you. Something's going to speak to you. And it's that selective silence. You don't have to answer every ping or in text or phone ringing or a doorbell or have that clock in your head where I got to get back to him. No. Select silence. It's so important because there's so much noise going on. That's why we can't hear when God or the universe or whatever is trying to talk to us. We can't even hear ourselves because we've gotten so accustomed to the noise. So select silence. And so when we achieve solitude, maybe in a small way, but it feels so good, it's great. How do we maintain it? How do we enhance it but maintain it? Because if you don't, you're going to go back to loneliness. You're going to go back to some other thing that you're filling your schedule so full to avoid, but that's also not leaving any room for solitude. I think we have to schedule it. Just like any other appointment. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to plug in an hour. If you can do it on a regular time, that's great. Hopefully you can do it every morning. That'd be fantastic. However, you've got to schedule it like just any other appointment because if you don't, those are the first things you cut. So schedule it. That's how you maintain it. Also, you have to disconnect to reconnect. And the best way to do this is limit your tech intake. Whether it's a computer screen or scrolling on your phone or on Amazon or whatever, limit that. However much you're doing it, and you probably don't know how much. I can think you can look on there and see screen time. However much or little you're doing, do it less. You got to disconnect to reconnect to yourself. And then anchor this solitude in habits. Meaning, okay, I get up, I brush my teeth. First thing I do is brush my teeth. I walk around the house brushing my teeth a lot of times. Drive people I live with crazy. However, I make coffee. So I can schedule some solitude while I'm having my morning cup of coffee. Instead of watching the news or scrolling. That's what I'm going to do now. Silence during coffee. I'm going to get some solitude in first thing. Or maybe you go for a walk in the afternoons or evenings. Okay? That's going to be, I'm going to anchor some solitude in with that. Or maybe it's a ritual before bed or whatever. Because if you anchor it to something you're already doing, then that can be a trigger or a reminder for that. Yeah. Also, I travel a lot. One thing that helps me is to travel light. Travel light. Less clutter. You clutter anywhere. We've talked about that. Whether homework or play. Clutter it makes you feel different. But traveling light. Reduce clutter. Don't commit to everything so the time is so full. Yeah. Allow for some distractions. Allow that, because that might enhance some creativity or whatever. But the thing is, if you don't allow solitude to get in, even when you're traveling, then you might end up lonely and you'll wonder why. So with all of this, I think what brings solitude, and I know I'm a broken record on this, but get used to it. Practice gratitude. This can be part of your time, part of your solitudinal moment. Think about what you're grateful for. What have I got? It can be major things. It can be minor things. Because when you do that, solitude becomes natural. From time to time, I'll hit on social media and I'll do a gratitude post. And it's what I'm grateful for right now, at this moment. Absolutely. And it may be something big. The other day I was grateful for, by mistake, I had picked up a jar of extra crunchy peanut butter rather than my normal smooth Jif. Just grabbed it. I was doing whatever. I got home and I got extra crunch. Not even crunchy, extra crunchy. I made me a extra crunchy peanut butter sandwich. Best sandwich I've had in probably a decade. It was a happy little accident. I was grateful that I made that mistake. Something simple like that. I was walking to the mailbox on Saturday, came back, and I'm not big with my neighbors here. I overdid it in San Diego. It was glorious. However, I've been a little antisocial. Saturday, and college football was going on, and I heard somebody in the garage, and there were a bunch of people over there, and I just waved, and they waved me in. 3 hours later, it was fantastic. So I was grateful for their openness and their willingness. It was fantastic. And the weather, it's fall here right now, so it dipped into the 60s. Grateful for that. So that was 3 things I was grateful for at the moment. I put it on a post. Practice gratitude. You don't have to wait until your solitude moment. Be grateful as you go. And then when you have that solitude, you can decide, all right, what am I grateful for? And that can be a good way to enter that session. What am I grateful for? What am I thankful for? When you're going through a tough time, solitude is realizing, wow, this is rough. But I've learned lessons I would not have learned otherwise. I'm grateful for that. Wow. So loneliness shrinks us. It does. It shrinks us. We're choked. We feel bad. It's gnawing at us. Where solitude strengthens us. We come back stronger and restored. Loneliness is like a hunger for a connection. Where solitude, it's the feast of being whole. There's no hunger. I am restored. I feel good. I feel rich with blessings or whatever. You've been surrounded by noise long enough. Yep. That ache of disconnection. You've had that long enough. So it's time to sit down, not by chasing people, but embracing yourself first. Embracing this presence. Embracing this moment. Embracing this opportunity to learn something about yourself and what is important. Because when you learn to stand strong in solitude, you're never going to be alone again. And when you connect solitude to that freedom, you realize, I'm never trapped. You just hadn't walked into that open field yet. Picture loneliness in a small room where you're cramped, but there's a door there. Solitude is when it begins when you stand up, turn that knob and push it, open that door and see that big field where you can go at your pace in any direction without trying to, needing to impress, defend, any of that. I thought someone else came up with this, but I did. I did a search, and it came back as original. So with loneliness and with many other things, this saying helps. You've carried the weight long enough. Now it's just about setting it down. So with loneliness, it's just about opening the door and let's go. And get some of that solitude, man. You'll start to crave it because solitude is a connection with yourself so you can connect with others. I hope this helps. I feel philosophical. I don't know, I feel like a cross between Bob Ross and, I don't know, some other philosophical type person. And no, I haven't had gummies before this either. Just a peanut butter sandwich, and it was delicious. So hope this helps. Don't be lonely. And if you are, let's find a way to get you out of that. Let's get you in that open field. Let's get you out in nature. Let's get you seeing your worth. And your worth does not depend on what somebody else values you at. Okay? Hit me up, david@otalks.com or dave@otalks.com. Let me know what you think. Let me know how you work through some of these areas. And let's paint a picture of what solitude really looks like for you. All right. I appreciate it. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for hanging on. But most of all, thanks for O-Talking with Dave. Giddy up.